Hi everyone, another process video from me. This is a layout I did this week of really old photos from over a year ago. I think it was February of 2012 that I got my Instax camera. And one of the first things we did was we went down to Scott's studio and took a picture of each other taking pictures just for fun. And I wanted to do a layout about it way back then, but I'm just getting around to it now. So I'm looking through my studio calico paper here, and my space is a mess because I kind of stopped. I forgot to turn on the camera at the very beginning when I initially went through all my papers. And this is one of those kind of blocked grid type of layouts. And although I rarely have a sense of what I'm going to do before I sit down and scrapbook, this was one of the times when I did. I knew I wanted kind of everything laid out separate instead of layered. And you just saw me do a little washi tape switcheroo there. The washi tape that came in the kit was a little bit too pink and purpley, and because I'm using the pocket there that has the pattern paper inside of it that has lots of oranges and reds in it, I didn't think that the pinky purplies would quite match. So at this point I've got a whole bunch of scraps left from my kit, and all of these pieces were already cut that size and shape, and I'm just kind of working out which pieces are going to go where. I'm going to do a tiny bit of layering on some of the elements of this, and so you see me just kind of pulling out random scraps from my Studio Calico paper, the box that I keep my paper in. And yeah, so I wanted to use the Glitz Designs paper garland, and you're gonna get to see my cat playing with it. I actually snapped a couple of pictures, and I think I've got a future layout just from some of the stuff that happened during the making of this layout, so that's kind of fun. Um, I really like that number line that came along the bottom of the blue polka dot paper, and you'll see me using some of that blue polka dot paper in some of my layers, and it is by, oh, darn it, the Seen and Noted collection by Pebbles. And so now I'm going to take everything off of my layout so I can do a little bit of sprinkling. Most of this is going to be covered, and I knew when I was doing it that it was going to be covered. I'm using just a plain craft background, and so I just wanted a tiny bit of detail. I could have used a bit, if the sprinkles had landed in slightly different places, more of them would have shown, but I kind of like it the way it is. So, of course, when I do these kinds of layouts, I do like things to be mostly even and lined up, but I don't spend a whole lot of time making sure that things are even, just because I'm not sure that, I mean, if something is obviously uneven, I think it kind of stands out in these kinds of layouts, so I want it more even than usual, but I also want to make sure I'm having fun, and I do not like measuring and lining up things. So yeah. Here I am just gluing together some of those layers of scraps that I'm using underneath the picture of Scott taking a picture of me. And that picture that's coming out of my Instax in the photo there is that photo down that of Scott. So yeah. So it wasn't faked. It was actually, that's what happened. It was staged, but that is the actual photo that you see in the other photo. So I wanted this layout to go kind of diagonally from the top left to the bottom right. As I was laying out the pieces, I kind of decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. Usually when I do these blocking layouts, they're very predictable rectangles, and so I wanted this one to be slightly different, so it's on the diagonal instead. I used pop dots to attach that flap to the top of the to the background paper, and that just kind of emphasizes the fact that it is a flap instead of making it look like it's a piece of pattern paper that's just layered there. And I glued the just using a dot roller, I glued the string from it so that it also kind of flapped down, so it was obvious that it was a pocket. And I'm just, yeah, so the cat is playing with my Glitz Designs paper garland, and I snapped a couple pictures because she was just too adorable, and I put these on my Instagram. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, or if you're on my Instagram, which is Mercy Tiara, you'll see these pictures, and they turned out really cute, and I'm going to scrapbook them because yeah, she's just too adorable. Um, so now I'm playing with the idea of using the garland as a whimsical feature that is kind of like everything is all lined up, and then have the garland be really not lined up so that it kind of adds a bit of like a what would that be called? Like an unpredictable element to the layout. But then I end up changing my mind and going with a straight border eventually. I think I'm going to play around with it a little bit before I decide for sure. But yeah, here I am deciding to go straight. And I like it because I think the fact that they're circles and that they're sewn on in kind of in a messy kind of way, I think that is unpredictable enough. Like that adds enough of a unique element. So I am going to, even though I did glue those down, I'm going to use my tiny attacher to staple it in place. And then for the staples I did in the middle of the page, I just have to use my scissors to bend them over so they don't cut anybody. And I always cover them with washi tape because they're a little bit more sharp than when you use the tiny attacher. So I added a second piece of a fourth piece of washi tape at the bottom there just because I wanted to repeat something, and that was something that was repeatable. Some of the elements are not because I don't have two of the pockets, so I can't repeat that pattern or anything. I'm using my awesome sassafras letter stickers, and what I decided to do is put me and you in different in different colors of the same font, and then have most of the title be this. It's like a tomato red. It has a real orangey hint to it, which is similar to the color that's in both the washi tape, which by the way is one of the new washi tapes by Glitz, and it's called Bokeh, and it's I was going to say delicious. It is delicious. It's actually gorgeous. um, so I'm just going to place these letter stickers, and I use wax paper, of course, to figure out the placement of my letters just so that they don't stick down until I know where I'm going to put them. And even still, I'm going to move these ones around a little bit because I work with these letter stickers so much that I know how sticky they are, and I know that I can move them around once I get them down there. Um, So, what else do I want to say about this? The grid paper, the kind of blue and white grid paper that's under the taking a picture of in the top, is by Basic Gray, and it's the back side of the tags, and the cut apart kind of ledger tags. And one of those ledger tags is actually above the pocket that you see there. I'm going to do some stamping on it before I finish off the layout. And so, of course, the title takes the longest on this layout, just kind of getting the letters placed properly so that they look kind of balanced and even. And so what I really like is how I wanted this to go diagonal, and the two chunks of the title are diagonal to one another. I didn't really think of that when I was making the layout, but now that I look at it, it kind of follows my diagonal theme. I wasn't sure if I was going to use this speech bubble because it's a little bit bold, but I outlined it with my Lumocolor pen, which is a slick surface pen. You could also use a slick writer, and then it popped out quite a bit better. And I wanted a sticker, a camera sticker, and I knew that the Echo Park Everyday Eclectic Collection had that really cute camera, and so that's what I decided to use. So I pulled out my Echo Park collection for a second there, and yeah, so I wanted to put a star in the lens of the camera, but I couldn't find the right kind of a star. So I have these resin stars from Freckled Fawn. I put them in my cart the last time I bought some washi from there. And so I'm using an alcohol marker. I couldn't find the yellow that I wanted, but this yellow actually coordinates quite nicely with the number line that's above and below. So it's kind of a goldenrod color. And glossy accents sometimes takes a while to set when you're using plastic things, I find. But it did eventually set, and it held quite nicely the star onto the camera. So now I'm going to do some sewing apparently. I didn't know I did any. Where did I sew? Oh yes, I sewed over the letters because they were kind of coming off, and I don't know if that's because they're old. I don't remember the sassafras letters being so unsticky, but they are quite old. They don't make them anymore, and I stocked up. I bought a million of them when they were on a like a Steels website, and so rather than going back and adding adhesive to all of those letters, which would have been very tedious, I just pulled out my sewing machine and I did change my thread because I've had it threaded with gold because I've been doing a million projects like cards and stuff with gold thread because I'm in love with the gold thread that I bought at Michael's. So, but I didn't want to put gold thread on this one, so I just switched back to the white. I do keep my bobbins a neutral color. I have a whole bunch of white bobbins that I usually use, but currently there is beige in my, it's kind of an ugly bland color of beige. So it's good for a bobbin because every once in a while the bobbin color shows, but usually it doesn't. If I'm using very dark thread, I will use a dark bobbin. So I'll use either navy blue, black, or dark brown. And it doesn't really matter because not much of it shows, not enough that you could see that what color it is. I just like it to be dark when I'm using dark thread and light when I'm using light thread. So now I have that, I think that's the Amy Tangerine roller date stamp, and it says snapshot. And so I put the date, which, no, I just put snapshot. So up on the top there, I only inked the sentiment. And now here I'm using the Studio Calico date stamp, and it says photographed on in a really nice, it looks like it's handwritten. And then I have February dash dash 2012 because I don't know the exact date. So that's what I stamped on the Instax photo, and then I went back and I also added snapshot to the little label at the bottom, which you'll see in a minute. Also, I added just to the right of that tag that says snapshot on it with the enamel dot, I put a line of 3 blue enamel dots that you won't see in this, but you will see it in my summary video because it just was looking a little bit unbalanced. So I added a kind of a line of 3 enamel dots. So there's that resin star by Freckled Fawn, which I love. I'm gonna love using all of those. So thanks so much for watching, you guys.